Welcome to the Brent Weinbach podcast. My name is Brent Weinbach, and I went to the supermarket on August 5th. And to my surprise, there was Halloween decorations up already. Halloween candy out on display. August 5th. I just want to reiterate, I didn't say October. October hasn't happened yet. August 5th, there was Halloween decorations up and Halloween candy out for sale. And it made me think. They're starting Halloween at the supermarket at the beginning of August. So you get August, September, and all of October. That's 3 months of Halloween. Halloween is now 3 months long. That's just crazy to me. Don't you think that's crazy? Next thing you know, that's so early that it makes me think that the next thing you know, Halloween decorations are going to go up November 1st. Halloween ends after October 31st is over. Then you walk into the supermarket on November 1st. They've got Halloween decorations up. I mean, that's what it seems like we're headed towards because Halloween gets longer and longer every year. Soon those pop-up spirit stores, Halloween superstores, they're going to be permanent locations, soon. It seems as though we're headed towards a year-long Halloween. I would have thought that, if anything, Christmas would have been the year-long holiday. But Halloween is beating Christmas now at this point because Christmas, all right, let's say this year. So maybe Halloween starting on November 1st is not going to happen this year, but we're headed that way. What's most likely going to happen is November 1st, Christmas is going to start. They're going to have Christmas decorations up. And that's going to last 2 months at least, right? Well, I guess it's going to be less than 2 months maybe. So, wow, I can't believe Christmas is going to last 2 months only compared to Halloween, which is 3 months. After Christmas, they're going to put Valentine's Day stuff out. So Valentine's Day is going to last January and I guess half of February. So that's a month and a half. A month and a half for Valentine's Day. And then after that, it's Easter. So you get Easter for, February, a couple months of Easter. And then you get a couple months of 4th of July. No, you get more than that. I think you get 2.5 months of 4th of July. Or is that right? May, 2.5 months or so. And then you get some time off for about a month, okay? That's the month-long break where it's a dark zone. And then we're back on Halloween. And that's our whole year. Our whole year is 5 or 6 holidays. Well, that's just, it's just outrageous. It might be because time keeps getting faster. And so to compensate for time getting faster, they have to make the holidays last longer so that it feels like you're getting the most out of your holidays. Because back in the old days, in the 80s, the Christmas season the Christmas season in the 80s, for me at least, it was half a month long, I'd say. 2 weeks. And it felt like a good amount of time because time took longer back then. But now that months go by instantly, we need to I guess we need to stretch these out. Stretch them out, caramello. And it does seem as though people are celebrating their birthdays longer than they used to, too. It used to just be one day. But now birthdays they last a whole month for people. If you ever see people on the internet, they usually celebrate their birthday for a month. So I think to compensate for time moving faster, you know why time moves faster? It's because of the internet. The internet made everything smaller and faster. We get everything instantly. We can send mail a lot faster than we used to. In the past, we had to wait. Unless you paid big bucks, you could, maybe send something overnight. But we had to wait a few days for something to arrive in the mail. Now we can just send it in a matter of seconds. And you can order things quickly, and also you can connect with people all over the world. You can virtually visit any city or any landmark you want to. So everything is smaller and faster because of the internet, and therefore, and that's why things feel faster now. Everything's shorter now. So now we live, and now to make up for that, we have to make Halloween 3 months. If Halloween is 3 months, does that mean people could just wear funky outfits even in August? It really does mean that school hasn't even started yet. That's what's crazy about Halloween starting in August, at the beginning of August. But when you have your first day of school, you can show up wearing a hockey mask and a glove with knives on it, and your teacher might say, "Oh, hi." They might say, "What? Why you do this?" They might go, "Why you do that?" The teacher might say that. "Why you do that?" And you could say, "Happy Halloween." And she'll say, "You're right, it is Halloween. You got me there." So, what was your name again? My name is Prince. That's what on the first day of school in junior high one time, the teacher said my name was, they said Brent. They were taking roll, and this girl sitting next to me, she said, "Your name's Prince?" And I said, "Yeah." And then I showed her my glove knife hand, and she said, "Oh, okay, I get it now." Do you get it? So, time is changing, and it's not just me. It's the world. The world is changing. The world is getting smaller. It's not just my perception of time is what I'm getting at, okay? Yeah, I hadn't lived as long in the 80s, and so time might have seemed longer to me back then, but it's not just my perspective. It's the internet. It's interesting how Rite Aid is going out of business, because I went in there the other day, and it was so empty, and they said 90% off everything. I was tempted. The greeting card section still had cards, and I thought, oh gosh, these cards are so cheap. The cards were being sold for something like 10 cents each or something, or 20 cents. And I thought, oh, I should get one of these. I should maybe get a greeting card for, I don't know, for Halloween. Send some greeting cards out. Do they ever have greeting cards for Halloween? Remember in Valentine's Day, they had the whole class would give each other Valentine's Day cards. Even boys would give Valentine's Day cards to each other. It was a friendly thing. I guess Valentine's Day isn't just about being romantic. It's about celebrating camaraderie and just your love for people in general. It doesn't have to be about romance. It doesn't always have to be about getting boners all the time. It's not about that, really. It's not about the blood that rushes to your groin. It's about the blood that rushes to your chest. It's about your heart. But all the all the holidays have candy. Why is that? All the major holidays have candy. Christmas has a lot of candy. There's candy canes. There's chocolate and stuff. cookies, eggnog and things, sweet things. And then you have Halloween, of course, is all about candy. Easter has a lot of candy involved, jelly beans and cream eggs and stuff. And Valentine's Day is candy too, sweethearts and all that stuff. It's all about candy. Why do they do that? 4th of July doesn't have candy. I guess that's the least sweet holiday. Are there any other holidays? No, that's it. Wait, is that how many holidays there is? There's just the 4th of July, Halloween, Christmas, Valentine's Day, and Easter. 5. There's just 5. There's 5 times of the year now. They might even have to just start doing that instead of seasons. But anyway, I was changing the toilet paper on my toilet roll. I used my last square of toilet paper, and I was switching it out, and then I accidentally did something that you're not going to want to hear about. The toilet roll holder, the thing with the spring in it, you know what I mean? It fell into the toilet. And, I got it out of the toilet. I put on a glove. I have this I had this sparkly kind of white glove that I use, and I put it in the toilet, and I went, I put it in the toilet. I said, I just put my glove on. Now I have to get this toilet roll out of the toilet. I told Tito, please, can I just dip my hand to the toilet just to get this toilet roll? And Tito said yes, and then I said, okay, thank you, Tito. So I got the toilet thing out, and I wiped it off. This is gross. Now look, thankfully there was nothing in the toilet when I was doing this, but it's still dirty, okay? I mean, there's been big logs of poo in there before. You know it. You know how dirty it can get. And I just thought, I just couldn't trust it, because I did actually wipe it off, and I was very meticulous about it, and I got I kind of disinfected it, but I couldn't get on the inside. The thing is hollow on the inside, and I can't get in there with anything, and I thought, I use this tissue for lots of things. I put it on sensitive areas of my body, and, I blow my nose with the tissue, and I don't want to possibly put that doesn't seem safe to me to be putting. I mean, this thing is it became a toilet roll at this point, meaning it had the essence of a toilet, of a used toilet. Even if it was clean water, it had the essence of a used toilet on the toilet roll, and I didn't feel like that was safe for my nostrils or any other parts of my body I might put that tissue. Maybe I'm trying to wrap up. Maybe I'm trying to wrap my penis up with toilet paper. Maybe I'm trying to do a mummy. Maybe I'm trying to dress as a mummy for the season of Halloween, which starts in August, and I want to do the whole mummy thing. Maybe I'm thinking of a new Halloween costume, which is called Penis Mummy, and I just sort of answer the door for kids trick-or-treating just wearing my mummy outfit, and maybe I'm wrapping up. I wouldn't want to put this possibly dirty toilet paper, around my sensitive areas. The kids wouldn't like that. So, yeah, I decided to go without a toilet roll for a few days until I bought a new toilet roll, and I wanted it to match the side pieces, so I got the whole set. I even called them and I asked them, can I just get the spring thing? And they said, no, but you can probably find that somewhere else. And I said, but I want it to match, though. I just want it to match, And I went a few days without having a toilet roll holder, and that is kind of challenging. It really adds a lot more convenience to be able to just, use the roll and just take a piece off and wipe. And dealing with the roll, I've seen that. I've gone to a lot of bathrooms in my life, and people don't have toilet roll holders. They just put their toilet paper on the back of the toilet or something, or they, and you're just meant to just pick it. It's just barbaric, I think, to not have a toilet roll. You're picking up the toilet roll and you're ripping the pieces off, and then it just seems barbaric to me. You want to go to a civilized household, you better see some rolls there, okay? And anyway, all this to say, I do feel sorry for inanimate objects, and it's something I need to check myself on. Maybe I've talked about this before in the podcast, but when I was younger, I really cared too much about inanimate objects. I would feel sorry for them. If I saw a piece of something, say a crumb from a piece of bread, and it was not with his friends inside my stomach or something like that, I feel sorry for that crumb. I said, you got to join your friends and get inside my stomach, or something like that. If there was certainly stuffed animals, that's easy to feel sorry for. If you see a stuffed animal tied to the back of somebody's truck or something like that, you feel sorry for it. But I would feel sorry for inanimate. At a certain age, I told myself, look, you got to just get real. These things are not real. You have to just stop caring about things so deeply. They're not real. They don't have feelings. They don't even have brains. They're not processing isolation in the way that you do every night. They don't live. These are not living, breathing things. So I check myself, but from time to time, I move back into my old ways, and I'm going to go on this trip tomorrow. I'm going on a trip tomorrow to Tulsa, Oklahoma. You probably heard me talking about it. And, by the time you listen to this, I'll have already done the show in Tulsa, and and if you made it out, thanks for coming. And I hope it was a good show. Gee whiz. I hope it wasn't a stinker. But I have some new toothbrushes, and I thought to myself, my old toothbrushes, I'm about to transition to new toothbrushes. And I was going to bring an old toothbrush with me, the one I've been using for the last 6 months or whatever. And I was thinking I would maybe leave it. I would throw it away in Tulsa. I would just throw it away in the hotel there. But then I thought to myself, but I feel sorry for the toothbrush to be thrown away in another city, that the toothbrush should just be thrown away. I'd rather throw that toothbrush away at home. I think the toothbrush would like to be disposed of in the place that the toothbrush is more familiar with, my home. And then I thought, what are you talking about? You just throw it'll be a good practice for you to just throw the toothbrush away in Tulsa, because it's not real. It's hard to not feel, I understand people who have real dolls, okay? There's people who have real dolls, and they develop, they care for these dolls. You know what real dolls are, right? They're these life-size dolls, usually women, although I think they do make male ones. There's women, and it's for lonely men, and they're kind of there to keep them company. And I guess some of them use them for salacious purposes, and then they have to clean them and stuff. It seems like more trouble than it's worth, I think. And I've seen videos of these men, and they find companionship in these dolls that are not real people, but I get where they're coming from, because I have felt that way about toothbrushes and things like that. Even pieces of lint, I've felt that way before in the past. But anyway, I will throw my toothbrush away in Tulsa, because I've got new ones waiting for me at home, and that'll be good practice for me. It could be a good way for me to check myself. Okay. You need to check yourself. I need to break myself. I was watching old clips of. I was rewatching clips of Menace to Society recently, And man, I realized that movie had a lot of influence on me in a lot of ways. The way that the characters speak in that movie, I think, had some major influence on me. It's pretty infectious, actually. I saw that movie not in the theaters, but I saw it as soon as it came out on tape, and I feel like it came out on tape pretty quickly after it was in theaters because I don't know, I remember seeing it pretty quickly after it came out. Anyway, but that's just a side note. Going back to inanimate objects, I'm trying to remember what I was going to say, but whatever it was, anyway, the toothbrushes, they'll be fine. They're not real. I was going to say that I have thought about this with regards to insects. I used to care about insects a lot when I was younger, small ones. I remember this moth went down the drain once, and when I was a kid, and I cried because I felt bad for the moth that flew into the drain and got washed away. But now I have, in the same way I've checked myself about inanimate objects, I've gotten real with myself about insects. I believe, or at least I'd like to think, that they don't process pain and other things the way that more advanced or developed species process things. I think that an insect does not process pain the same way, and I think they're not thinking in the same way that more advanced creatures are thinking. I don't think they're thinking about I don't think they get sad or even angry. I think they maybe just act more like robots. They act more like tech support. Don't you think tech support are basically robots? You might as well just have a robot. When you talk to tech support after talking to an automated response, it's almost the same thing. They don't make any judgments for themselves. They follow a protocol, and they can't help you the way a human can. The humans you talk to on the phone when you need help, they are essentially robots or cyborgs or something. It's a shame. We used to be able to talk to humans, and they used to be able to make human decisions about things. And that was helpful. They could understand your situation better, but robots can't really understand you yet. Maybe we're getting to a certain point. I cut the cheese. This is a very human thing, I think. This is something that robots can't do, but I cut the cheese several days ago, and I thought to myself that you can really tell by the way a fart smells what the future holds, can't you? You can tell when you pass gas by the way it smells what's going to happen in the next several hours. I just thought that, your body can just tell you a lot of things. And yeah, I know when something smells a certain way that there's going to be something. It's not just going to be gas that's coming out of me in a couple hours. It's going to be something liquid. And I smelled this thing the other day, and it just smelled like a rotten egg. I mean, no disrespect to myself, but it did smell like a rotten egg. And I thought, it's not Easter yet, it's Halloween. I thought, actually, a rotten egg makes more sense for Halloween. A fresh egg is more appropriate for Easter. So you know what? Maybe I was just sort of getting into the Halloween spirit by, laying a rotten egg, or sort of the gas particles of a rotten egg. But yeah, if your thing smells like some sort of rotten egg, I don't even know what a rotten egg smells like, to be honest, but I just think it smells like a rotten egg smells eggy and really strong, and just like a bad smelling egg. And eggs kind of smell bad to begin with, to be honest, in some ways. But yeah. Anyway, it was just I did feel kind of like a clairvoyant kind of person when I smelled this thing, and I thought, I know exactly what's happening in the future for me. I know where I'm going to be. I'm going to be in the bathroom. I'm going to be using my brand new roll holder that I got. Spring is all new. It's got a tight spring in there. That's not coming out of the holder at all. I knew exactly where I'd be in the next 2 hours. It was neat. I felt like a real seer. I wonder if that's ever... I think if I ever went into being a psychic, I would maybe just have kind of try to stretch people out a little bit to make them release their gas, and then I could sort of smell what's going to happen to them in the future. But isn't it crazy to you that people they have their psychics, they work out of their homes, it seems like, and they'll have signs up and it'll say open even late at night. So you could just show up to a psychic's house at midnight and they might take you in. Have you ever done that before? Have you ever been to a psychic before? I have not, but I think my sister has, though. But I've been curious when I see the signs that say open and it's the middle of the night. I've been curious about just going in there and seeing if they'd take me in. I don't want to pay for it, but it'd be kind of interesting to just sort of go into somebody's house in the middle of the night and talk to them a little bit. I don't know. Whenever I have bad bowel movements or, strong smelling gas, I do think to myself, what did I eat? I need to start doing a better job keeping a food journal. I used to do it. I used to keep a food journal, and I'd started off, Dear Food Journal. Today, Bobby looked at me and it made me get a stomach ache or something like that. And a food diary should be called a food diarrhea, right? Because why else would you be keeping it? The only reason you would keep a food diary is to understand why you're getting diarrhea. So call it the food diary. Food diarrhea. Or call it the food diary. You spell it diary and then put at the end of it. Why else would you keep a food diary unless you were getting diarrhea all the time? I was with my family and we were eating sausages. Growing up, my dad would like to bring home some sausage and he would cut it in the middle and heat it up. And my family liked it and he really liked it and my sister liked it. But I never really liked it that much. I feel like sausages, when you cook them, cooked sausages, you put them in the oven or something, or even put them on the grill, barbecue them or something like that. They get all thick and it feels like flubber or something like that. It makes me think of Flubber. And when I chew on a sausage, it feels like I'm chewing on flubber or rubber. And when I say flubber, I mean those balls that were at the schoolyard, when you did after school or you did recess, you get those flubber balls. Well, it reminded me of that. It always has since I was a kid, and I was doing it recently with my family. We were having sausages, and I thought, you know what? I don't think I like sausages. I don't mind sausages when they are maybe more thinly sliced, or if they're not all kind of thick and flubbery and stuff, when they're sort of tighter. And I like certain meats. No, I do like certain meats, I like salami if it's the right kind of way. I like a fennel sausage. And I like a peppered type of salami or something like that. But yeah, this stuff, you know what I'm talking about? It's a little log. They're kind of just like big hot dogs. I don't like a thick Frank. Some people like a thick Frank. Some people like a stiff Peter. Me, I like thin franks. I like them to even be maybe a little burned. That could be nice. I'll take down a Dodger dog. They keep those pretty thin. They're long, but they're thin. I don't like these thick franks. No offense to any kind of chode type people out there. If you've got a chode, no offense. But for me to eat a chode, I don't really like that. And sausages are basically, these kind of sausages are chodes, and you cut them in half and they get thick and you chew them and they're just so chewy. I don't like that feeling of chew. It just tastes like, it feels like rubber. It doesn't taste like rubber. It feels like it, but it tastes heavy to me too. It's too, I don't know, saturated or something. And it makes me feel kind of, I think it might lead to a rotten egg of a gas. I think I could do that maybe to me. I don't know. But I used to chew on paper towels a lot when I was a kid. I used to get paper towels, stuff them in my mouth, and I would chew on them like gum. Why'd I do that? Well, I don't know. There was something about it that I liked doing. I liked chewing on it. I liked to chew when I was younger, and then you might think to yourself, then why didn't you like your Flubber sausages? Well, I don't know. I didn't really like the taste of it, I guess, as much. But when I was younger, I did like to chew on gum, and I liked to chew on sausages, on paper towels, that is. I would chew on paper. I wouldn't eat the paper towels. I would just chew on them for a while. It was almost like I was a dog. I smelled like a dog back then. I didn't bathe a lot, and I wore the same clothes every day. I smelled like a dog. And so I guess chewing on the paper towel was kind of like me gnawing on some sort of dog rope or something like that. And I would just chew on paper towels, but nowadays I don't like chewing and I don't like gum. I don't like to chew. I find it very tiring for me to chew. It feels almost hellish to me. It feels like if I was in hell, I would have to just chew on gum for eternity. And I wouldn't like that. I want to swallow something eventually, I'm happy to chew on something for maybe 5 to 10 seconds, but I want to swallow. Can I swallow? And I think that I enjoy swallowing. My gums get, not my gums, my jaw gets tired easily, I think, these days. I guess my gums my jaws used to just be more active when I was younger. I guess I kept my jaw pretty fit back then. You should have seen me when I was younger. I had big jaws, It looked like I used steroids or something like that. No, I just chewed on paper towels. That's what it was. Eating in front of people is risky, don't you think? It's risky because, let me rephrase that. Eating in front of people you don't know very well is risky, I think, because I don't know if this happens to you, but when I'm eating, every now and then, if it's a certain kind of food, I run the risk of eating something weird, or I'm noticing something weird about a bite of something. This happens oftentimes with various meat products, chicken. Sometimes I'll eat a piece of chicken and there's something weird about it. It might be attached to some sort of cartilage or something like that, and I don't want to swallow that. It's gross to me. And if I'm in front of somebody I don't know very well and I'm eating, I have to figure out a way to spit this food out without them knowing that I'm spitting the food out. Or sometimes, by the way, it's not just meat stuff. Vegetables can have sand in them. You ever have sand in your lettuce? I've had that before. You eat lettuce and then you're crunching down on something. Oh, it really just disturbs me to think about because I've had it happen before. And you want to spit that out. Sometimes you get a slimy piece of lettuce and it's gross and you just spit it out. Or one time, and I tell you, going on first dates to dinner, that's a bold move because you run the risk of having to spit something out in front of somebody and trying to do it without them noticing. So you get your napkin, right? And you look like you're wiping your mouth, but you're spitting out the food while you do that. And it's hard to pull off, because how do you not make that look obvious? I don't know. I wonder if the food I've spit out in public before in front of other people, I wonder if they noticed that I've done that when I was trying to hide it. napkin on your mouth, and you're kind of going like this, and you're trying to have a conversation with them too, so they're looking at you, but you try to do it when they're not looking. You kind of go, yeah, and now you've got a handful of crap that's wrapped up in this napkin, and what do you do with it? You just have to sort of put it down, and you can't use the napkin anymore, and then I don't know, especially if it's one of those fabric napkins, it's hard to get another one, Oh boy. Yeah, I've had to do that a few times in my life, where I just get a bad bite of something. I remember I had sushi once. It kind of turned me off to sushi for some years, I would say, but I just had a nasty piece. It just wasn't chewing right. That feeling, it almost felt like there was flubber in my mouth. Anytime you get a bite of flubber, be it sausage, be it sushi, that you just don't want to eat that. I'm more likely to eat flubber sausage than flubber sushi, but yeah, I mean, it's pretty gross. It's a gross sensation, and it needs to get... That's why if you're going to... All right, if you're going to eat in front of somebody you don't know very well, you better use paper napkins instead of it better not be too fancy of a place where they don't have paper napkins. You better go to just some joint where they use paper napkins. Yeah, that's probably the solution there, I want to complain about something, and that is plastic bottles. This is something that's been, I don't know, going on for at least 10 years, maybe 15 years. I don't know when they did this, but they made a switch. Water bottles. Water bottles, hand-sized ones that you get. They started making the cap to save on plastic or to not waste as much plastic. They made the caps really small. They make them really tiny. They're almost like lids instead of caps. And it's been like that for quite some time now to save on plastic. Maybe it's some sort of initiative, or I don't know what it is, but Fiji water does not do this. Most of the other waters do this, though. It's just a tiny little cap. I don't like those caps. Look, I'm all for saving the environment, but those caps really are a drag, and here's why. When you're taking off this little cap, it's so much more likely, and it's very easy for your fingers to touch the part that it screws onto that you put your mouth on. And where your fingers have been, who knows? You might have been wiping down a toilet-drenched roll or whatever. Who knows? People put their fingers in their armpits and stuff sometimes. People are getting tickled all over the place. I don't know. Maybe I was feeling around on something that was dirty. And then once, okay, in my mind, I'm kind of a germophobic guy. I admit it. But you take the cap off, and then my fingers will... Okay, sometimes I'm able to not do that, but then if I put the cap back on, I'll accidentally touch it with my fingers. And actually taking it off, I'll accidentally touch it with my fingers. And if that happens, I'm not drinking the rest of this water because I don't want to put my mouth on that. And even if I poured the water out, I feel like that's touching the rim of the hole a little bit. And so look, by using those little mini caps, those little by making those little tiny caps, you're wasting more plastic because now I'm not even drinking the water. You're wasting water now too. Fiji water uses the full-size cap, and you know what? That really puts Fiji water above other bottles of water, I have to say. I know some of you are thinking, well, Brent, you shouldn't be drinking that stuff anyway. There's all kinds of microplastics in there. I'm past that, okay? I know there's particles of plastic in bottled water and plastic bottles, but I've accepted that, and I'm embracing it, okay? I've decided that I'm going to be okay with being a plastic person. And you know what? We've been plastic people for a long time. It's not going to really... I don't think it's really going to make a significant impact on my life to fully embrace the plastic lifestyle. I mean, don't get me wrong, I would never get plastic surgery, but ingesting plastic is something I've grown to be totally fine with at this point. However, I will not put my lips on a mouthpiece that's been touched by my filthy fingers. These fingers have touched all kinds of things. I don't trust that. I don't trust anybody's fingers. I say bring back the bigger cap, please. Because look, or you're just gonna make me go with Fiji from now on. Look, Crystal Geyser, I'm talking to you. All right, Crystal Geyser, you're my favorite water, don't you know? You're my favorite bottled water. So bring back the big cap, or I'm going to Fiji. I don't want to make the mouthpiece dirty. And you're making it dirty by me having it. It's almost like I'm playing Operation with my bottle of water. I don't want to play Operation with my bottle of water. I know I complain a lot on this podcast, and I complain a lot in general, and I need to stop doing that, I think. I need to stop complaining because I don't know. I think I complain too much, don't I? You probably listen to this podcast or you watch it and you think, oh, here he goes again. The older I get, the more I complain. It's just like a stereotype that you see in movies and stuff. I'm complaining about every little thing. Caps being too small. I'm not really complaining about Halloween being 3 months, although I'm slightly complaining about that. I mean, make it special. Make Halloween a week long, okay? That's fine. I'll even give you 2 weeks for Halloween. Okay? Christmas 2 weeks. That's what we should do. You're oversaturating us with these holidays. It's like a flubbery sausage. It's oversaturated. So, anyway, I know I complain a lot. I was trying to think about how can I be less complaining about stuff? How can I be less uptight? It's not really possible. I think, is it really hurting anybody? Well, maybe it's hurting me. Maybe I'm not enjoying life as much by complaining it. Look, I enjoy life plenty, though. You don't get me wrong. I love to laugh. I get plenty of laughs, and I love eating food. I love swallowing, and I love the sensation of going poo. I love the poo coming out of my butt. I just don't like it when it stings or I have a stomach ache and it's liquidy and it's messy. I don't like that. But I love a healthy poo. I love it. I love that sensation. And don't get me wrong, I don't like it going in. I like it coming out only. And I like movies. I like being teleported to other perspectives and learning about other people. And I like works of art. I like things that stimulate my mind. I enjoy life. I do. But there's a lot of incompetency in this world. And I don't know, I'm complaining a lot. How does one not complain as much? Well, I could just say, oh well. I got to just start saying oh well more, oh well. Maybe I just have to be a little more defeatist about things or something. If I accidentally touch my bottle from the small cap, I touch the rim, I think to myself, oh, well, I guess I could just go buy a new water. But then you have to get up and go do it, I guess, or something. How do you become... I know I solve problems on this podcast, so this is the biggest problem of them all. How do you complain less? I guess you just have to... you just have to say, oh, well, and move on. It's as simple as that. I mean, there's lots of other things to complain about. There's more serious things to complain about in life than touching the rim of a bottle. Okay, well, anyway, Halloween is 3 months. Oh, well. What else? That was a disgusting piece of chicken. Oh, well. Right? I don't know. I don't complain that much, do I? Yeah, I do. Yeah, you do. That's what you're thinking. When I asked you that just now, you thought to yourself, yeah, you do. Yeah, what? You don't complain a lot? This is what you said just now. I didn't. I'm just repeating what you said. I said, I don't really complain that much, do I? And then you went, yeah, you do. You don't think you complain a lot. What a schmuck. Okay, I'm just saying what you said. I have some phone messages that some of you listeners left, and I'm going to get to them, but I think I'm going to do that in the after show debrief. Not the after show debrief. I'm getting my worlds mixed up here. That's the Chicken Coop has the after show debrief. If you haven't seen the Chicken Coop, you ought to really see it, okay? It's on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Brent Weinbach, and it's every Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific time, and I do it with my sister usually. And it's really fun. She's really funny, my sister. She's the funniest person I know. You should really watch that show. But that is every Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific time. What we do here on the Brent Weinbach podcast is I go extended, and it's for members only. How do you become a member? You join the Patreon, patreon.com/poundcast, POUNDCAST, and it's you get the extended episodes. You get the episodes a couple days early also, because you know how this podcast comes out on Fridays, well, really Thursday night, midnight. Well, you can get it Tuesday night, midnight on Patreon most of the time. Sometimes there's delays, but yeah, you get at least an extra half hour. And anyway, for this extended, I am going to listen to your messages. And if you want to leave a message on the hotline for the Brent Weinbach podcast, the phone number is 213-207-6952, and that is the number to call if you want to. If you have an issue, if you have something to complain about, hey, you know what? From one complainer to the next, I'm happy to hear it. Okay, and you know what? I don't think complaining is bad as long as you're not too negative about it. Am I negative about the way I complain? Yeah, you are. That's what you said just now. You said, yeah, you are. So if you want to complain about something, if you've got an issue that you need some advice about, I can try to help you with that. And if you have some kind of secret, or even a dirty secret, if your fingers have been touching some some dirty crevices, let me know about it. I want to know. I want to hear your dirty secrets. I want to hear your clean secrets too. I want to hear everything. Tell me everything. And so you can call that number and you can leave a message there, and I'll get to it eventually. I think I've got 5 juicy messages, juicy like a flubbery sausage. And that's what we're going to be hearing on the extended episode of the Brent Weinbach podcast. Thank you to Jack Birch for his help behind the scenes. And if you want to watch the show, if you're not already watching it, you can go to youtube.com/Brent Weinbach podcast. And that's where you can watch it. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I think that's about it for now. Yeah, I think that's the lesson from today's episode is when life brings you something that mildly annoys you, you just have to learn to say, oh well. My name is Brent Weinbach. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.